Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mesdames et messieurs, damas y caballeros, welcome in to episode 53 of the Lingaholics podcast. How are we all doing? It's Saturday night here. It's Sunday morning where Cody's residing in the Gran Correa, and we are hitting off for another podcast episode 53, 53, 53. Nothing too crazy. If we were a little later, the French numbers would get a little whack. I was teaching my French students this past week. French numbers, which you guys know, it's pretty normal up to 60. And the moment it hits 70, the kids are like, huh?
Wait,
and
what?
Then 70, qu'est-ce que c'est? And then 80, quoi? 90, quoi? Like, what
Qu'est-ce que veut dire?
And they're like, Monsieur Renier, like, why is that? Why is that? And I'm just like, look, I never met the guy who invented French. Sure, he's a grand mech, grand chum, but this is just the way it is, because that's what the way languages are, folks. We deal with them however you find them. So the boys are back here. Lots of fun. I had a little adventure out in Sueco's territory in Ontario. And then Monsieur Suédois was out a little further east in Quebec. So we're going to catch up on some of those trips that we just had this past long weekend. And our boy Cody's always grinding away in Korea. So we're going to check in and hear all about it, folks. Come on in. It's the Lingaholics. So speaking of the Lingaholics, my fellow conversationalists, les raconteurs, ici, let's go out to Land of the Rising Sun, where it's dimanche maintenant. Monsieur Pinch, Monsieur Kud, qu'est-ce qui se passe, mec? Anyong, Quinchanayo?
Quintanayo. It's actually the land of the morning calm. Remember, the land of the rising sun is Japan.
Sorry, Japan. Yeah, sorry, Korea. Messed that up. What else?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I'm doing well here. Getting settled into my job. Gonna get back into the routine of getting into Korean again. And I've actually got a holiday coming up here. It's so for those of you who know anything about Korea or are Korean, it is Chuseok coming up this week, which is like, it's basically like the Korean equivalent of Thanksgiving. And I've got a week-long holiday off work for that, which is very much needed. I am in desperate need of a vacation that's going to be very nice. And looks like I'm all set for Taekwondo. I found a place, and I'm going to be starting that after the Chuseok holiday, which is awesome. Looks like it's going to be 3 times a week in the morning before work, which is super cool. I'm very excited for that. And yeah, just again, not too much time for language stuff lately, because just been reorganizing my life and stuff, and just dealing with some things. So yeah, that's about it for me. Nothing else too exciting happening.
You'll probably lots of...
What? So I have a couple questions first.
Me too.
Yeah, sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
Can I start?
Yes.
How's the weather?
Oh, yeah.
What's September like in the land of
hot? Is super hot.
The morning sun? No, what was it? The morning calm.
Yeah. September in Seoul is like August in Calgary.
Smoky.
No,
It's nice.
No, it's not smoky, but it's like high 20s pushing 30 in the day, and then at night it cools down to like maybe 17, 18, 19. Nice. So it's like a really nice August in Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah, so September's pretty good here. The leaves haven't turned yellow yet. Everything's still green, so it's really nice.
That's what it is here in Ontario. Today was 27 when I was in the car.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, September is like my favorite month, honestly. September's like still summer, sort of. Like
really,
it's kind of autumn. It's kind of fall. Like you're in the fall. I think you're officially in the fall, because like summer ends at the end of August. I feel like officially. But still, like September, you're still getting some of that summer weather, you know?
Not in Alberta.
No,
Well-
but here at least. Sometimes in Alberta.
Well, yeah, no, Alberta can be nice. The biggest bummer is 8 o'clock darkness.
Mm,
That's where it gets you. That's where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, the party's
Yeah.
coming to an end. The summer fiesta.
but man, I
But
love
you get
like,
some nice days though. You got some really nice days.
I love like the low 20s, like
Oh,
between
yeah.
like 17 and 23. That's like the perfect temperature because it's like
That's
you're wearing a
nice.
hoodie and like you're still walking around and you're having a good time.
Mhm.
Like
Nice
the thing
zone.
about 27, like today was 27 here, that I don't like is that you always have to walk around in a t-shirt outside.
I love
Honest-
that.
I don't really like walking around in a t-shirt. I like walking around in a hoodie,
hoodie
more than I
guy?
like walking around in a t-shirt. I'm a hoodie guy, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like I don't like walking around. I want like something on my upper body that's not just a t-shirt when I'm walking around. Because like if I'm walking around in a t-shirt, I'm probably gonna like sweat. You know what I mean? Like if I'm walking around in a t-shirt, it's gonna be so hot that I am going to be uncomfortable. Because I hate sweating when I'm outside doing something like leisurely.
The
I
less
do
I can
like-
wear, the better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I love when it's like 27, 30 degrees.
yeah.
But I
Oh,
only like that if I'm at the beach.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's like if I'm in the city, if I'm working or something, I hate it. I want it to be like 17, 20, like 20 degrees.
I do like the comfort of a nice bunny hug. Do you guys know
Okay,
what that is?
Saskatchewan.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Cody.
I didn't get that.
Okay, yeah, you're not from. So it's funny. And I say it sometimes to my students just to like rattle them. But in Alberta, I think everywhere else, no? Everyone calls it a hoodie. Saskatchewan, bunny hug, baby. Love the bunny hug.
Oh, that's a hoodie?
Yeah, bro. Bunny hug. Saskatchewan represent. So,
So that's what
I
they
as
say.
well.
That's
We
they
say
only
it.
say that in Sask or in Alberta too.
As far as I
Only
know,
in Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. We're just like, hey man, I gotta go grab my bunny hug before the
That's
Riders
a
game.
Sasky thing.
So it's a Sasky thing. Yeah. I love using with Albertans. Like Cody's born and bred Albertan. I'm like a
You're a hybrid.
I'm a hybrid. That's right. Yeah. So yeah. Nothing. A great hoodie bunny hug just feels nice too. I do agree. When it's not, but when you're not like dying, like it's not super warm, but it's still comfortable, but nice
Yeah.
weather. Yeah,
Peace.
absolutely.
Anyway, what was the next question for me?
Are you ready for the? Okay, so I'm assuming Taekwondo. You're gonna be getting lots of orders, lots of commands. So have you like brushed up on any Korean commands like kick, punch, side leg?
Pinch.
Not.
You're gonna like. I'm really because like every situation's got little different language wrinkles, and I'm assuming like you're not really going to be conversing back to your sensei or whatever you call it for a Taekwondo guy. They're going to be like telling you what to do, which is like cool because you're going to be learning like commands are a big part of languages. So
yeah, I haven't really, to be honest, but I will be. I think during the Chuseok holiday, I'm really gonna just be like revamping my Korean strategies, which I want to get into a little bit later in the pod.
nice. Yeah.
And yeah, so I haven't done too much of that, but I will certainly.
No, yeah. Well, I assume once you're in the classroom, you'll just once you start hearing a word and an action simultaneously, you'll catch on. So it's yeah, martial arts is because everyone I was doing a bit of karate, even the not the fighting, but the what do they call those sequences when you have to like do all the moves? Like you're not actually fighting the guy.
That's called
or
kata.
whatever. Kata, yeah. And then like there was certain I think they were just counting in Japanese, like as you were doing the moves, the sequences. So no, it's cool context for sure. So that was my observation about Taekwondo. So cool, dude. All right,
Marcus, did you have a question?
No, my question was about the weather.
Oh,
I didn't really care about the Taekwondo. Okay, that's cool and everything. But
yeah. Okay. So yeah, what's going on with you?
With the Le Suédois?
Yeah.
Well, so I went to Quebec, and I had a little visit to Quebec, which was très très bien. Well, so first of all, it's awesome. It's always awesome to go to a place where they speak the language that you're learning, like your target language. because like you're walking around and like you guys know the feeling when, let's say you're about to go into like some type of store, like the grocery store, and you're preparing yourself to ask for directions or
That's
to ask
been
for
every
something or
day for
whatever
the
like that.
past 6
And then
months
like you're
for
on
me.
your phone, you're on Google Translate, like, oh, how do I say this? And like you look up everything, and then you go there, and then you have this conversation, and it's like it's very fluid. So I did a lot of that. And I surprised myself because I hadn't prepared myself. I had been focusing on Italian and Spanish and German. Like I hadn't been doing French before I went to Quebec. So I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, like how am I gonna do it? Because I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, maybe like a month, like any French at all. So I went to Quebec and I did really well. Like I was pretty impressed by myself. Like I was able, like I didn't speak any English to the locals at all. It was this funny situation. It was like the first time I went into like the restaurant, and I had so just to explain to the listener, in Quebec right now you have to show your vaccine receipt or vaccine passport when you go to any type of restaurant or non-essential service like a restaurant or a pub or any type of event. So I go in there, and since I don't have the Quebec vaccine health passport app, I have to show my vaccination receipt from Ontario, but I couldn't load it for some reason. Like for some reason it wouldn't work because like I was outside of Montreal and like my service wasn't great. Like I didn't have LTE or something like that. So I was trying to download it and it wouldn't work. So I was trying to like explain to them that I couldn't download it. Like je ne peux pas télécharger ma reçu de
La
ma vaccination. Oui. So I was trying to explain that to them, and like I was trying to ask them to for the Wi-Fi password and whatnot. And since this was my first encounter, I was a little shaky. So they were like in perfect English, like I can speak English, you know that, right? I was like, je ne peux pas
Good.
anglais.
Good.
Je voudrais pratiquer français. Like I told them that I want to practice French, and they're like, "Ah oui, c'est marche." So I was like, the pass. I was asking for the password for the Wi-Fi and everything. And then finally, I was standing there for 5 minutes, holding up the line, going into the restaurant because I couldn't get my
Just because you wanted to practice the French.
passport.
Attendez.
Oui, exactement. Tabarnak, c'est suédois, là. Qu'est-ce qui se passe avec là?
J'ai besoin de pratiquer mon français.
Il vient d'Ontario, tabarnak. So that was my first encounter. So my first encounter was a little shaky, but I went through it only in French. I was able to do it, and then afterwards it was just smooth sailing from there.
That worked then. And just be like, hey, I want to practice French.
Ouais, je voudrais pratiquer français.
They were cool.
Wait, but most of the people didn't go back to English. Like if you speak to them in French, they keep going in French.
Right. So did they like catch like the moment? I remember when I was in Quebec a couple years ago, and like the moment they heard like the tone of your voice, I swear like they had like spidey senses to be like, he's not Quebecois, blah 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 blah. Go to English, but just like holding them to the fire.
They kept going. They kept going.
Good. Yeah. No. That's like that's the dream then.
Yeah, that's the dream. It kept going. So the only thing I can like my only complaint would be that it's pretty hard. It's much harder to hear what they're saying when they're wearing a mask, because if your server's going to wear a mask at a restaurant, for example.
Yeah.
And so that was a little tricky, but I was still able to sort of understand like everything. I was still able to do it, but it was another layer of challenge, another layer of challenges that I encountered.
Like facially, like there's professional lip readers, right? Like if they were looking.
Yeah, no, it helps a lot.
Now. Right.
And the same thing. I had the same thing when I was in I had the same thing when I was in Spain last year.
Oh,
like understanding like the Castellano, like especially in the beginning, like everyone was wearing a mask, and I had to communicate through masks, which was really hard. Because like it's a lot easier when you can see the person's lips. Like that's just a fact. It's harder when you're wearing a mask because the mask kind of muffles the words and the sounds as well.
Right, when you already got to focus so much already. Right, because we're all kind of like amateur lip readers to begin with, right? Like,
I think it's like subconsciously you need to. It helps looking at someone's lips.
Right, and then especially in a foreign language where you're just trying to like.
So it's a combination of that and the mask just muffling the sounds.
Right. Okay.
That's what I
But
think. But it worked. It worked
but it was
now.
pretty smooth sailing then. Just being like, hey, I'm just
Pretty
speaking
smooth sailing, yeah.
French
But
and sticking with
like
it.
anything, like absolutely anything I was able to do.
Yeah.
When it came to like restaurants, and we were at the theme park as well, just asking for
Yeah.
directions and asking like questions about the menu
Did you
or
run? Did you
random
encounter
things.
any like native speakers that? This is what I find with any native language too. Is like some are like smooth, real easy to understand, very comprehensible. But then like you meet some like old guy on the street who's just riffing in his old man
I
accent.
don't know,
And
man.
like,
I think I was just talking to people. Like it was fairly easy. Like this, there was just this
what?
one
Okay.
time where like I kind of screwed up, and they were like, I still understood them, but I like this one time I screwed up my first encounter. Like I just messed up my word order or something, and they instantly knew that I was a FSL.
Right.
Um,
Right.
that I was a foreigner, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And they went over to English, and then they like stayed in English, even though I persisted with my French, and like I got better after that. But it's like I screwed up my first phrase that I said. I said something like ridiculously off, and they were like, "This
Right.
guy doesn't know what he's saying." And they went over to
Okay.
English.
But they were like
But no, I
forgiving.
not those guys were not forgiving.
Okay. Well, whatever.
And the thing is about hospitality that's so annoying is that once they just want to appease you all the time. So if they know you're not a French, that your English is much better than your French, they don't like you have to tell them that you want to speak French.
Yeah. You have to
Otherwise,
like
they'll
make
just keep talking to you in English because they want to appease you. They want to, it's
Yeah.
hospitality. They have to like speak
Right.
to you in your native language.
You're
They
the
think that's
guest.
courteous. That I'm the guest. Like it has to be as easy as possible for me. But I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want an easy encounter. I
So I guess
want
to
the
like
challenge.
just not make it awkward, like just kind of carrying on responding in French or like saying
It's
that
not
like,
awkward
hey, I
though. Like
just
for me,
want to.
if it's not awkward for me, it's not awkward for the host
Okay.
or the waiter.
Good.
And for me,
Yeah.
I'm so used to that by
Right.
now, like because I've done it so much, like being in foreign countries,
Uh-huh.
that I just carry on. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
And like worst comes to worst, I tell them like je voudrais pratiquer français. Tu peux parler en français,
Uh-huh.
s'il vous plaît.
Well, uh-huh. Okay. That makes total sense. So, Cody, are you having any of those similar situations in Korea where you're like, because like, what's an average server or waitress in Korean like? Do they have good English?
Depends where you go.
Okay.
In Seoul, it's more common,
Right.
but still, it still depends on where you go. Like, I would say it's really hit or miss. And if they do, usually it's just like a little bit. Like they don't speak very well. They can just kind of communicate.
So you
Yeah,
wouldn't have to
but
make like a social note being like, hey, I'd like to do my Korean, please. Like if you're just riffing in Korean, they'll be like, all right, cool. Like,
Yeah,
you're doing it.
like I've noticed, like even if they speak English and I try to speak Korean with them, they'll stick to Korean. Most of the
nice.
time. Some of them who are really good at English will just speak English, but yeah, I don't know. I find like it really just depends on the person here.
But what do you do? Do you like persist in Korean, or how do you handle a situation like that?
Yeah, I usually go in Korean unless I really just need to get something done and I don't really
Mhm.
care about the language practice, then I'll switch to English. But
Mhm.
if I'm just like doing something that doesn't really require a lot of mental gymnastics, I'll stick to Korean.
Nice.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so you share that sentiment, like you share the excitement for being in that type of situation where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like I'm so excited to actually talk to this person in Korean.
Yeah, absolutely. But
That's so fun, eh?
I have a very, very interesting situation that I experienced last week. And
Okay.
this is something that I haven't really mentioned on the pod, but so I've been dating a girl here for a while, and I actually met her mother last week,
Oh,
and she doesn't speak any
what?
English.
Opa? No, what? No, that's brother. What? No, Umi? What's mom again?
Oma.
Oma.
Yeah.
That's
So
funny
I
because
met her
that's
Oma.
grandmother in German.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, obviously Marcus and Ian know about this, but like the Lingoholics public doesn't know about this, but
Shout
yeah.
Shout out to the Lingholics public.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And yeah, so we actually met at a Starbucks last weekend in the afternoon, and we were there for about like an hour and a half, 2 hours with her, and it was so stressful. Oh my god, because that's actually the first time I've ever met like a significant other's parent, and it was in another language with masks in a very loud Starbucks, and I couldn't understand a damn thing she was saying.
No.
Wait, you guys were still wearing masks? Like
Well, sometimes. But even when we weren't wearing masks, like the music was really loud, and there was like a lot of kids in there like screaming and stuff. So on top of the language difficulty, I couldn't hear what she was saying.
Chaotic environment.
Okay, so
oh my god,
this is interesting. So sometimes like I encounter situations like now when I was in Quebec where I didn't really understand what was being said, mainly because of the mask, but also like the situation, like you're in a loud bar, you're late and you've had a couple drinks, like it's hard to understand exactly what's going on. So how do you deal with that? Like you kind of understand from the context what the other person is saying, but I just feel like I just start kind of BSing. Like sometimes I just play along because like I don't really feel like saying like comment est-ce que tu peux dire cette chose autre fois?
Yeah,
like I don't want to say that.
Right.
So like you just play along with it. Do you just play along with it? Because that's like a conundrum. That's like a polyglot problem.
Yeah, so that's usually what I do, but this situation was a little bit different. Like my brain is like habituated to doing that, so I did it a lot, but I knew that wasn't really a good thing. So I actually ended up needing my girlfriend to translate a lot of it.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to like, because that's something you want to actually just communicate, right? Like,
yeah, because you have two options, right? You have two options when you don't understand. You could either like, if you sort of understand, you could just play along, but then like if you really don't understand anything, like they could be asking you a question, right? And then you have to respond. So what I find myself doing when I don't understand at all, then I ask like, I ask them if they can repeat themselves, but if I sort of understand, but I don't really understand, like if that I know that it's not a question, for example, that I know that they're like asking for what type of bread I want or something like that, then I just play along with it. Like I kind of BS an answer.
Right.
That works. But if I'm certain that it's not a question, I'll do that. But if I don't know at all, like they could be asking me a question or they could just be stating something, then I would ask them to clarify themselves.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically what I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't always have to go for the
BS response.
No, you don't always have to have like that 100% clarification, I guess. You're just like, all right, I'm willing to work with partial information here.
Right. Like I understood like 50% of that. Right. And that's enough. Like so I know they didn't ask me a question. I know sort of what they asked or what they told me.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like I didn't have to understand all of that. Like I'm
and
not
if you're talking if you're talking to like some random old guy on the street, that's totally cool. But like when you're talking to your girlfriend's
you're right.
time, and she asks a question like, what are your plans for marriage? I'm like, oh my god.
Did she ask you that?
Wait, what? Dang. All right.
She asked you that, really?
Right, let's put
so I was feeling like, okay,
on the
there's like
first encounter.
It was pretty heavy. It was pretty heavy, yeah.
She was like, no restriction. Like she was like, full disclosure,
no holds barred.
I'm gonna be straightforward.
I've watched Crash Landing on You when I've seen the moms like get upset when their daughters are having problems with their engagement things, and I 100% believe that. So I think that's a cultural thing too, dude.
So Cody found himself in. Sorry for being a little curious here, but what'd you say?
Wait, did you reply in Korean or did your girlfriend have to answer?
Actually I did. Luckily I didn't need to answer because my girlfriend kind of like freaked out at that question. I was like, oh, thank you for like just kind of deflecting that.
He was 100%. But did you how did it go? Did it go well?
Apparently I made a good impression, so that's all that matters. Yeah.
Nice.
Have you guys heard that? Have you always heard that cliche, like first impressions are everything?
Mm.
But I've heard this new like take on that lately. It's like, it's not a good impression, not a first impression. It's about a lasting impression. So you have a good lasting impression.
What I believe in is that you don't want to make a bad first impression. Like you can make like a normal first impression,
Right.
like an average first impression. I feel like that's the common thing. To make like an average first, but you just don't want to make a bad first impression. Make a bad first impression, that could backfire.
Yeah. No. Yeah, as long as you feel like even a bad first impression, if you forget it right away, then it's not really lasting. So lasting in a good way. So wait, for the marriage thing, did that have to get translated, or did you understand that when it was asked?
It was half and half. It was
Half and
half.
half. Yeah.
That was a lot of the
That's
conversation. Well, in the
That's funny,
beginning,
though.
it was mostly half and half, but as time went on, like I kept getting like more into my own head, and I kept understanding less and less. So yeah, it was like I found it a very stressful situation. I was like, oh my god, like my Korean just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in a noisy environment on top of it, too.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I, Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Use
I
my
hadn't really
four
slept that well
languages.
either, too. So
Right.
like my brain
Hadn't
wasn't
slept
fully
well.
there. I was like, it was kind of
all these secondary factors.
But Cody, do you feel like your Korean is going in the positive direction?
So let's talk about this. So I made a post on Reddit.
Let's talk about your post.
Yeah, I made a post on Reddit because I
That's-
kind of just blew up last week.
What's the let everybody know what's the Reddit? What do they call those, subreddits?
Yeah, subreddits. Yeah,
of Korean.
So I posted on our Korean. There's a subreddit for the Korean language, and I kind of just went on a rant. I was like, I've been learning this language for so long, and I still suck. Why? And I got a lot of good support, and I got a lot of good comments from people, and I was given some much needed perspective and some things that I often forget to tell myself. And basically when it comes down to it is like I just need to chill out and like stop being so hard on myself and just realize that I've made a lot of progress. And when I am learning, I just need to really focus on the fact that it's a hobby of mine, and it's not because I think one thing that's really been frustrating me is that, like, feeling that I've needed it, like, because I live here and I've been in a lot of situations where I really do need it, and it's been very stressful to not be able to communicate fluently. And also, like, just being with my girlfriend too, like, it would be nice if I could openly and freely express myself, right? So, I really just have made the switch that I just don't need to focus on needing it so much anymore, and it's just kind of a fun thing that I'm doing. And also my strategies for learning, I find that it's learning Korean has been a very humbling experience for me. I think I was a little bit when I first started learning Korean, I think I was a little bit arrogant in my abilities because I had learned 4 languages in the past, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Korean. I don't care which one it is. I'll just take it on. No problem."
Another on the list, right?
Yeah. And so I thought that it was just going to be not necessarily a breeze, but I think that I was just going to be able to handle it in similar ways that I did my previous languages. And a lot of the strategies. So we've talked about this on the pod before. Like my basic strategies for learning a language are like I basically build like formulas for myself. Like I learn the grammar, vocab. I do a lot of listening to see how pronunciation is conducted, and like I basically make the building blocks on my own. Like there's a lot of guesswork that happens. There's not as much immersion as as Marcus would do or something like that. So with something, especially for a language like German, that's the way to go with German. We've talked about this before. You can basically study yourself to fluency in German. And that's why I did so well with it. And to lesser extents, you can do that with Spanish, French, and even Chinese. But it turns out that you can't do that with Korean. And I think that's one of the reasons that's really been holding me back, is that I've been trying to understand the mechanics of Korean, and Korean is not a language you're going to have a good time with if you try to do that, because there's too many complexities. There's too many specific, there's so many things that you need to say in certain specific situations. It's not like English or German or something where you've got like words and formulas and you can plug them in based on guesswork. Like you can't do that with Korean. You basically, immersion is the best way to do it. Like what I'm going to try to do from now on is like I'm going to try to use a lot more material, and I'm going to immerse myself a lot more, and I'm basically just going to copy what people are saying in certain situations. And obviously I'm still going to do especially vocab, because I need to know more words. And I'll do grammar once in a while, but I'm not going to focus on that because I think I've just been spinning my wheels in a circle, right? I've been trying way too hard to understand this language, and I don't think I'm going to get very far if I keep doing that. So there's been a big perspective shift for me, and it's been nice. I feel much more at peace with my current level, and I feel really proud of myself actually for how far I've come, because I actually have made a lot of progress. So
I have a question. So the thing about language learning is that, you know, it's hard to get really good really fast. It's really hard. Right?
Yeah.
But my question is, because, you know, the most important thing when you're learning a language is that you're feeling that you're going in the right direction, that you're getting better, right? That's the most important thing, at least for me. I don't really care about how good I am. What I care about is that I'm going in the right direction. It's like working
optimistic.
It's like working out. You want to make sure that you're getting better. Right? And this has become so obvious to me because recently I've been getting really into running, and I'm running with like I use Runkeeper. You guys know, Ian, you know Runkeeper. Like the application. It's like an application. It tracks your your distance and your time and everything. Like you see yourself getting better each time. Like you can track the progress. So I have, for example, I have this 5 kilometer loop around where I live, that I run, and like every week I get it like a little bit better, like by like 15 seconds. And I feel like, and that just gives me like, I'm not a great runner, but I'm okay, right? But I don't really care about like where I'm at. I care that I care about that I'm getting better. And languages is like, it's kind of the same thing for me. Like I don't really care how good I am. I just care about getting better. So my question to you, Cody, would be that like, do you feel at least that, and you said it yourself, but you do feel that you're getting better, right?
Normally I do, but in the past couple months, I feel like I've been stagnant.
Really?
Like, obviously there's like words that I learn here and there, but I don't know. It's hard to say. If I am making progress, it's very slow right now.
Yeah, but that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be dramatic as long as it's progress. Because I feel like that's what's important. And you don't want to you don't want the progress to be too fast either, because then it's harder. It's going to be harder for you to make progress if you made a lot of progress. You want it to be
keep
stable,
the pace.
Sustainable progress.
Right. Now I'm just curious. Cody, this is like a black swan event in terms of like your previous languages, because you said a more formulaic approach worked with all previous languages or functioned to an extent. Whereas, okay, do you have just an example of like, because you're saying it really depends on the situation that Korean differs from, like, say, a formulaic phrase you might have in your head where it just doesn't apply in this certain context? Like, are we talking about the levels of formality? Is this a particle thing? Like what? Like, I'm just curious from like a
man. It's so complicated. It's like, it could be levels of formality. It could be the particles you use. It could be is like the endings that you're. This is, I think, in terms of the grammar. That's just one part of it. I'm talking about the other. I don't know what they're technically called again. Maybe it's adjective and verb endings, not the formality. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like if you're learning Korean, you'll know what I'm talking about when it's like nende, kunyo, ne, neyo, like
Almost like the
jiyo,
declensions.
like those yeah, and they basically there's no equivalent of them in English, and they
Right.
basically change the tone of how you're saying something. The
Oh.
closest equivalent in English would be like when you say like, "Hey, that's a pretty nice painting." Hey,
Mhm.
like that. Hey, kind of
Like an
on the end. That
emphasis.
like
That
that
little
like it
emphasis.
changes the meaning, right?
That they only you get like the average listener is not gonna understand that because that's only like a Western Canada thing.
Oh, come on, everyone knows that.
No, the A is like it's like you're almost like you're like trying to pull that like approval out of them, or I
Yeah, but
don't know.
people don't really.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still like a Western Canada. Like people don't really do that here in Eastern Canada,
Okay, well, here's another example, like the
and they don't
nail.
do that in the States.
When you say like blah 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 blah, blah
Yeah, but it's
nail,
like
that's
it's in
kind of like
in Castellano and like Spanish they always add like no, you know, like
Yeah.
for you know what I mean, like when they say, for example, fue muy bien, no, like they always add no, or like oder, like how in German how you add oder like at the end of each sentence, like
Yeah. Okay.
and
Well,
that's only one like context with the European languages though. But like
yeah.
let's choose another one like neo, which is like
Yeah.
that's supposed to express like surprise at learning something for the first time. Like that's such a specific situation that it's really been throwing me off. Like when can I use that
Can't
properly?
you just be
And
like chincha?
yeah, right. But that's not how they do that. And when
Cody,
yeah, what?
sorry, this just made me think of something. So I was in a business meeting with actually the Chinese consulate here in Toronto, and the lady who was interpreting, so because it was in between, so the lady at the consulate was interpreting, and then we were talking with like the Chinese government, some type of Chinese government people, and she all like every single sentence, like every 5 seconds, she would say nigga, nigga, like every 5 seconds she would say
Yeah,
that because that's a
yeah,
filler word, right?
yeah. That's like
Yeah. She
That
would say that every
that
5
one
seconds.
professor got fired for that. Yeah.
Like
That's
all the
another
time she would
topic.
be like,
That's another topic.
nigga, nigga, nigga.
mhm.
That I just
Right.
because
And
you told me that that was a
Yeah.
filler
that
word.
is a filler word in Chinese. Like
So she would say that over and
it's
over and over again, and I would be like, okay, like that's enough of that.
what is that? That means like, is that like a yes or
It just means
what is-
It's when you're thinking.
Oh, it's like plus.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. En español. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Right. So like, so is it something like any of those kind of things in languages? I would just consider like that oder in German or the no, like just little verbal ticks.
Yeah.
Kind of.
But
that
here's the
languages
thing
have.
that like trips me up so much about Korean is that like with like the other languages I've learned, like it's only like once in a while that you hear these, but with Korean, like you hear when you hear native speakers talk, they use it in like every sentence. There's some kind of like little thing that they use that slightly changes the meaning of the sentence of whatever they're saying.
Right.
So like the problem I've been having is I hear these things all the time. Like, why are they saying this? Why is it like this? Like, I don't understand. So I have
Right.
this a lot of this frustration going on in my head. And that's another thing that's been contributing to me having so much trouble with it. But I think I'm really focusing on just not really caring about that anymore.
Right. That's
And
gonna say
instead,
like,
yeah.
like you've taken a step back now
Hmm.
and not getting hung up on those What's that word?
Idiosyncrasies.
Idiosyncrasies, gracias, kamsahamnida. Idiosyncrasies, and just it's like seeing the forest. It's like, I don't know what's that. Oh, geez, I can't speak today. Seeing the forest instead of the trees.
Yeah.
Kinda
That's
thing?
it's exactly like that. Like I've got my sights set way too far ahead. Like I shouldn't be focusing on that stuff. I need to be focusing on,
Right.
like, I actually talked about this last night with some people. I feel like I've basically got the Korean of like an 8-year-old child.
Okay.
But
That's
if I
pretty good.
compare myself
Dude,
to an 8-year-old child,
you're like a year and a half into Korean, dude. Like that's
yeah.
That's pretty good.
solid,
But here's
bro.
the thing. Here's what separates us. So an 8-year-old child will be much more fluent than I am. Like they'll be able to communicate in most like basic everyday situations. Like they'll be able to get whatever they want essentially. Whereas I can't really do that. But the reason that I probably know as many words as them is because I might not know the like all of the basic everyday extremely useful words that you learn from just being immersed in your native language, but I know a lot of adult words that they might not
Right.
know. So
Totally. Yeah.
I've probably got an equivalent amount of words as a 7 or 8-year-old child does, but I don't know how to string them together because I don't have the advantage. I wasn't blessed with just like having this language given to me. Like I've had to go out and work my ass off for it, right? Like I've
Yeah,
had to
no,
go out and
totally.
ask
Yes.
people, like, "Hey, what's this? How do you say this?" And like I've had to go out and actively search everything, right?
Yes.
So Cody, what is your like main methodology right now?
Well, right, I'm in the process of reinventing that right now. So I think I'm gonna take the Chuseok holiday to where I've got some time to really just like rehash out how I'm gonna approach Korean. Because what I was doing in the past, I was relying on my previous methods of like using vocabulary and grammar to fill in the blanks and do a lot of the guesswork. And I think it's been costing me a lot. It's been costing me a lot of trouble.
Like I've been telling you, man, this is the wrong way. This is not.
No, no, no,
It's
no,
the
no, no,
wrong.
no.
It's the
No,
wrong
no,
way
no,
to
no.
learn Korean. It's not the wrong way
No,
to
no,
learn
no.
some
I
other
want to
language.
make a point here because I think Cody's doing something which I've noticed immensely amongst the polyglot community. This is just another example. So this rehashing, this kind of reinventing, this retooling, this happens a lot amongst polyglots because I've yet to meet like a hardcore language learner who's like stuck with the method the whole
I'm stuck.
time.
I found my method.
Are you though? Are you
Yep.
like
Oh yeah.
you do a lot of different modalities
Oh, yeah.
of learning? Like
I definitely found my. I've been doing my same method now for over a year.
okay, a year. That's not that long, dude. Honestly,
Yeah, but it's
like
working
we're
really
talking
well.
over like long time. Okay, but I'm not saying. I mean, you think you're never gonna like tinker with things because
I mean, I
Cody's. Okay,
tinker like a little bit, but I'm
sure,
pretty sure I found the best way to do it for me.
It works until it doesn't.
exactly. Thank you, Cody. That's exactly it. Because this rehashing I find is kind of like the polyglot grind in terms of like it's going, and it works until it doesn't. And I find like polyglots have to be like these problem solvers while they're language learning because like model A is not going to exactly work for model B. Sometimes it does, but then when it doesn't, you like got to go back to the drawing board, which is like what Cody's doing is like this is just from my experience talking to like seasoned, salted polyglots where they're just like, yeah, I used to do this, but now I do this. Then I was doing that. Now I don't think it's like there's that little thing like it's better to have a good method you keep going with compared to a perfect method that you don't execute. Like you don't have to be perfect, but this rehashing I think is like it's so common amongst language learners because you hit walls, you hit these mental snags, and you gotta reinvent. You gotta like. And here's the thing: I don't think it's like terms like black and white. I think it's like,
But
sometimes
I feel like
you stick with things that you're doing, and then you change up a little bit.
But I feel like you do that until you find something that works for you. Because that's what I was doing. Like I was messing around like that until I found something that like now I found like I have my system. And
That's
I mean
good.
like
That's good.
I tweak it like every once in a while. Like I build on it, but it's like it's there. And it's like I know the way that I like to learn. I'm not radically gonna change that.
Well, no, and that's my
Okay.
thing is like, yeah, like, and it's probably, at least my experience talking polyglot, it's more of like a language to language thing when they do this tinkering with their methods and whatnot. Like, especially if it's like a language from a whole new family, like, or something completely unrelated to what they're
Yes,
doing.
fair enough.
Right?
If I were to actually tackle Russian like seriously,
Right.
I would probably have to change my approach. But the way
Right.
I tackle my like intermediate languages right now is solid. Like I figured out how to
Yeah.
improve my intermediate
No, yeah.
language.
So that's what I
Like,
mean.
I got that down.
Yeah. No. And I think even each level has its own approach. But in terms
Right.
of
like if I were
look,
to let's say hypothetically I were to go at Russian again really hard, I would have to be on memorize and like go through vocab hard, right? Just memorizing stuff.
right.
But for my other languages, I don't really need that.
No, but like one day I do want to like tackle Japanese seriously. And the 3 alphabets, like hiragana and katakana, that's not gonna be that hard. Like I've dabbled my way through those. But then like the kanji is just like coded with the Chinese symbols. Like that is an Everest of symbols to learn. So like, it's not just like a finite alphabet. You gotta learn like this gigantic symbol. So the way one tackles that is obviously different than the way one would tackle like a finite alphabet. Too,
when are you planning on tackling Japanese?
Who knows, man? I dabble. No, like it's down the line. It's this lifelong of language learning, but it's down the line.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I've been so mired in Korean for the past year and a half that I don't think I'm gonna start another language for at least 3 or 4 years.
No.
Like,
I am talking like this might be me in my 60s kind of.
Oh,
situation.
Really? That long?
No,
I was thinking.
I'm being hyperbolic, but like later.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but my point is like I'm just this pattern of like someone being like, hey, I really need to like. And our next guest on the podcast, Valeria, who's jumped around from lots of different languages, like she's done a bit of Russian and Japanese. Like I'm curious to hear what she's gonna have to say about like these unique approaches to each language. So for what Cody's been saying, it sounds like a classic rehashing is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So dude, yeah, and I think that's what kind of keeps polyglot going, is that this whole like reinventing yourself with the language, right? Because who wants to be stuck? So I'm just curious. That's cool you have a holiday now, because I do feel these things take time. You just don't come up with it like in one night what you're gonna like change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this is going to be a process that's going to take a few days at least.
Yeah. No.
So what are you going to do during the holidays? Are you just going to stay in Seoul, or are you going anywhere, or what?
Well, I'm going to do, I think I've told you guys about this before, and maybe the listener doesn't know what this, I'm definitely going to do a dopamine detox. Do you guys remember what that is?
You stop being happy?
Essentially.
Endorphin blocker? What?
It's no, it's like when you take the whole day to basically like disconnect yourself from everything, and it kind of just like resets your brain.
Nice.
Like and I've done it before several times, and it's wonderful. And like there's varying levels of difficulty you can do. So there's like the easy version where you just like you don't like do any caffeine, alcohol, or like no video games or like any kind of like overly stimulating activities. And then there's the medium difficulty, which is the one I do, where you basically the only thing you can really do is like walk around in nature. You can eat if you want. It's preferable if you fast for the day, but usually I just like eat a meal at the end of the day before I go to sleep. And you can journal, meditate, walk around. You can't talk to anybody. You can read, but you shouldn't. It's supposed to really just be you with your mind for the whole day. And then the hardcore version, this is insane. I'm never going to do this. This is when you just basically sit in your room and like the only thing you can do is like meditate and like walk around your room. Like that's that's a little much for me.
And what
But
are the
yeah.
purported benefits here?
This like resets your brain and it makes you more sensitive to dopamine, and it makes you enjoy the daily activities of life more. And because because in modern life, like we're very overstimulated, and you can almost think of like the way you receive dopamine as kind of like a drug. Like if you receive too much of it, like your brain just needs more and more of it to be able to enjoy what you previously did, right? And that's how so many people live their lives now, because there's this constant stimulation, these constant dopamine rushes that you get throughout the day, and it just makes life a little bit less enjoyable because you need to do these crazier and crazier things all the time. So when you disconnect from that on a regular basis, then you're just able to appreciate the little things in life more, and you're able to appreciate every day more often. And it's also supposed to teach you to like on an everyday basis to cut out the unnecessary things in your life. That's basically what I've got from it.
That's so. What would be like if someone wanted to do just like the most minor light version of that? Would it be just be like turning off all notifications on your phone? Maybe?
Yeah, it would be no phone, no overly stimulating
what about even
activities.
just like imagine you had your phone with you just in case of like emergencies or something, but no notifications.
Yeah, yeah, no
Right?
notifications essentially, and you can't like check
Yeah.
your phone and go on social media or watch YouTube or things like
Oh,
that.
not even that then?
No.
Because I always find the notification is like the dopamine rush. But it's
You
not
don't-
just
you-
that too.
Do you not control your notifications? Like, for example, I only have notifications so I only have it from like the New York Times, and I set my notifications so I get like the main story. So I get like 1 or 2 notifications per day. And then I only have notifications for like the main sport teams that I follow. So like when the Blue Jays, the Blue
Right.
Jays, Red Sox, Bruins, like the main sport team, my main sport teams, I have those notifications for like their scores, their final scores. But that's about it. So I don't get a lot of notifications.
No.
No,
got,
but
like,
Yeah.
because I've
on
said
Twitter,
it
on Twitter,
intentionally
I got Marco Sueco and Lingaholics Pinch just tweeted, and I'm like, oh snap! What
Yeah,
did
but
they
that's
tweet?
not
What did they
that's not
tweet?
too often. That doesn't happen too often.
No,
Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying you're one of many though. And then it's just like, oh Jesus, like got like all these like notifications, and then you're just like scrolling through. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I need to shut these off because I don't mind
Yeah,
having a
and-
phone on me when I'm
I
like
don't-
curious. I love satisfying my curiosity, but when it's just like a barrage of like, hey, look at
Yeah.
this, look at this, look at this,
Yeah.
it's like
I've
come
shut
on with
off.
this.
I shut off most of my notifications. I rarely get notifications on my phone.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I've
good.
done.
That's good. So even if you're not like detoxing from dopamine, I think you're just like even just limiting it. Which
it's essential to limit it, because if you have too much, it's just like what happens when you drink all the time, right? Like next thing you know, you're drinking like 20 beers just so you can feel a buzz. Or like with coffee, so many people drink like 6 coffees a day just to be normal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, right. So I'm just asking for like it turns out like people want to like wean themselves off, like instead of just like cold turkey. But yeah, I think getting notifications for the essentials in life, not the trivial or the novel. Or
Exactly. Yeah. So
meaningless.
just like, yeah. So folks, be careful about the information and the stimulation that you're putting into your mind, because it has much more of an effect on you than you realize.
I think I've talked about him before on the pod, like commentator, he's kind of more on the conservative end, Dave Rubin. He always goes offline in August, like just goes offline. But like I think even just like a day off of the phone once per week, I think that's something I really gotta. You saying you're doing that, Cody? That's like I should really try that.
Yeah, and this. Oh, by the way, this dopamine detox. This is usually it's only like one day. You can be really hardcore about it if you have time and the resources to do that. But one day is like the minimum time and the recommended time. Actually, like I've only done it for one day in the past, but even doing that, like I feel like amazing the next day. It's really nice.
No, totally want to try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you find like since this isn't a normal thing that you do, like when you're doing it, you find like you how can I describe this? You discover layers of yourself that you're normally not conscious of.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
No, it might. I mean, I'm more aspiring to like more constant flow states. Like if it could be language learning, exercise, like I say, where I'm just really into something and time is kind of standing still.
Yeah.
And if I all of a sudden get like a bing about like something completely
Exactly.
off topic, my flow state just went. And then
Yeah. So living a more focused life. This is something I've been focused on for for the past few years now, and it's only improving my life. And
right.
that is one area where I've seen improvement is like language learning is like I don't do anything whenever I'm like sitting down with something, some kind of resource, like I'm just there with it. And
Yes.
I get into a flow state every time. I don't let anything distract me, and it feels wonderful.
Right. Yeah, and like when you start doing taekwondo here, and martial arts are famous for their discipline. It's not like you go check your phone in the middle of a session. Like you're
when you're in the middle of a tornado kick, you're like
yeah.
checking Facebook.
Yeah, right. Like that's what I mean. No, I think that would do society as a whole good. Like or one better than they've been doing. Yeah, no. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
Swecko, yeah. No, Swecko is like, is this kind of? Would you ever do like a put your phone away for a day thing?
The thing
or
is,
do you kind
like,
of already do it,
I'm not.
or do you feel it affects you?
I don't like. I'm. To be completely honest, I don't really have the urge to go on like social media ever. Like I go on Twitter, like very rarely that I go on Twitter. Like very rarely. I completely forget to go on Twitter, Instagram. I never go on Facebook. Like my thing, like I pick up my phone like every once in a while when I'm bored. And what I do, I read the news. Like I probably look at the news too much. I probably do that. Probably look at the news too much. I'll say that. I probably look at my stock portfolio way too much. That's like another thing.
Yeah,
like
that's a dopamine thing in itself.
Yeah, like I pick up, I look at my stock portfolio. Like I do that every once in a while.
I'm up.
That's probably a thing that like is taking too much bandwidth.
Right.
I'd say my stock portfolio. What else? Sports. Like I take up the ESPN app and I look through it. But I enjoy doing that though.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy looking at my stock portfolio. I probably do it too much.
Right.
Right. But that's about it. But like I'm more interested, like I'd say like the apps that take most of my time are like the news, my stock portfolio, and sports. Those are like the three things. Social media, like for some reason, like it's not really doesn't like that's not captivating. It doesn't captivate me for some reason. I don't know. My social media is probably pretty boring. That's why.
Okay, like it's funny Cody's talking about this right now because I was having a text conversation with Swecko this morning about how like I've been distracted by other rabbit holes, one might call them, besides languages, where Twitter is like there's gold and diamonds. You just gotta sift through it to find it. And if you're following certain people, and like that's the crazy thing about Twitter is like you can follow like super prestigious people and get a notification the moment they have like a thought, basically, because you're like, oh, so and so tweeted like right now, like 2 seconds ago, he pressed send, and I can like read his thoughts right now. And it's like, whoa, like this is such a connected world. Like I don't have to wait for that to be published. I don't have to wait for that to come out in a book, a magazine. Like right now, this is real happening. And like, holy, this like information is live. This is a live fire, folks. Like, but then it just like it's like information and thoughts and insights and blah 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 blah. And you can just like get down these things, but then you're like, okay, what's important though? Like what is like gonna add like serious value to my life? Like this is uber interesting, and you know, maybe that's the thing. But then like I feel like these bubbles we can get in, or these like tunnels, whatever you want to call it, like it's just like, I don't know, maybe this is like distracting from like what's really of essence.
You know, I saw a good quote pertaining to this a while ago, and it was describing like just the modern age we're living in, and it was, we're drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that's very applicable.
Okay, that sounds a little like postcardy, but like it's true in the sense of like wisdom. You need a ton of experience, or like your wisdom's got to be based on something, right?
Mhm.
Like, so I mean,
But it's, well, I don't know. The way I interpret that quote is basically like there's exactly what you were saying. Like there's so much garbage you need to sift through before you hit the diamond, right?
right, and you're like, I think this garbage is taking its toll and is not worth the diamond.
Yeah.
Basically, because even a brilliant guy, like maybe he's only got like 2 tweets that are fire, and then the rest is just like the other 10 are like, ugh, like what am I reading?
Yeah, I don't know,
not worth
honestly.
the squeeze. So
I don't know. I never really got hooked on that.
oh,
Like,
dude,
never got hooked on social media.
It's glorious.
Like it's just
It's not glorious.
when you feel like you're onto something, it's glorious. Yeah. When you're not, you're just like, I should
it's
be
just
learning.
it never
should be. Yeah, but
never got to me.
No,
I've never been a big social media guy.
Right.
And even though if I try, like I try to be good at like tweeting and everything, it's hard for me.
I don't know. Yeah, and it just it's fun. Like, I guess what I purely enjoy, and this is what is not the rabbit hole I've been down on. It's more like I just want to get back to like language Twitter, where it's just good energy. I find there's very little negativity on language Twitter, like, because I do hear people bash Twitter, be like, if we just all deleted Twitter, like life would be better. Like, okay, maybe like you're in the wrong community. Like, I do
language Twitter's sick.
Language Twitter, just like great vibes.
Like language Twitter, anything you post, it's gonna be only like good responses and like good vibes.
Yeah, right. And it's just,
you know what I mean?
Everyone's toiling away and working away, and we're just sharing thoughts, and it's such a different vibe. It's like every time like someone like super smack talks Twitter, it's like, well, maybe you're just not in like a positive community. You consider that. Anyway, that's
because all these like politics topics, they're so divisive, but languages they're not at all.
They're not.
They're inherently inclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Like learn the language and
well said, Pinch.
Come aboard. No, that's this inclusiveness. It got me thinking actually about so I was sitting at the ball game in Toronto, my first Blue Jays games, and like if anyone follows the Blue Jays or baseball at all, so half of Toronto's teams are Latinos, basically, right? So I'm just sitting there enjoying the game, and I love like walk-up songs, like when the batters for the home team are coming up to plate. And it's so cool, man. Like just in Toronto, and which is a vastly multicultural city. I kind of forget how much it is until I got back, but it's just awesome. So cool. Awesome. I'm like sitting there, and this like the one guy, Alejandro Kirk, he's just got this like banda song comes on, and like who knows how many Spanish speakers there actually are in the audience right now, or Vladdy's got this like super like Dominican song, and this other guy like Teoscar Hernandez got Zumba by Don Omar, and just like it's just like such a naturalized flow of languages. Like even if you didn't speak Spanish, just the fact that you might just be getting used to hearing it and seeing it and hear, like it's just around you. So I just feel like languages just like includes people, right? Like maybe if you didn't know a ton about Spanish or Latino culture, but hey, you're listening to Vladdy walk-up song. It's just like cool, man. I just love how languages can like just seem into normal life, even if you don't speak them, just that they're around you and they're like, hey, that's super interesting. That's really cool. So that's what I mean. Even like I want to just like have more appreciation on languages that I don't speak, never will speak. Just if there's an opportunity, if they're around, be like, this is really cool that it's around. So just want to say that in terms
La
of
gente del barrio.
La gente del barrio, los azulejos de Toronto. So I don't know, senores. Done a hour here. Any thoughts for extra thoughts? Episode 53.
No, I think that was a good hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Any? What do you think? You wanna?
podcast. No. I know Cody because Cody, you said that Korean post like that was like number one on the subreddit.
Yeah.
Lots of
I
likes,
topped
lots of
I
likes.
topped our Korean. I had the number one
Right.
post. That
Yeah. So it was like, all right. Well,
it got like 150 upvotes or something like that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So,
Good for you, buddy.
That's cool. That's cool. And give insight and then people give it back. So right on. Well, let's just encourage people to keep on rocking with their languages. If you need to do a rehashing, a retooling, like our boy Cody's doing, take the time, figure it out, and just don't give up. Don't give up. Keep feeling optimistic about
Don't
your
give up,
languages.
people.
Don't give up. Aguanta. That's my favorite.
Aguántalo.
Aguántalo. Sí, por favor.
Hay que aguantar.
Sí.
Digo yo.
Así es.
포기 hajima.
Eso.
El
All
Bob.
right, folks.
All right, guys.
Okay. Hasta la próxima.